MPs are claiming £300,000 for energy bills amid the winter fuel payment. We're going to read into this exclusive from iNews, you guys. Let's go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is Reganelite here with an exclusive from iNews with the headline that MPs are claiming £300,000 for energy bills amid the winter fuel payment cut. Some MPs have stopped claiming for their energy bills or were weighing up their decision after a backlash to the winter fuel payment cut. Guys, while you're here, make sure you hit the like button and share this across social media so others are notified of this video, because rightfully so, they should know that MPs are claiming benefit, taking money out of you taxpayers, the benefit of their energy bills, while some people are going to literally die as a direct result of the winter fuel payment cut that this Labour government has made. Some people are going to suffer, are going to freeze. Some may make it through winter, but for the MPs here and their salaries, and they get decent salaries, more than good enough salaries. But for these guys, it's not enough for them. No. They need to claim expenses on their energy bills. I wish I could claim expenses on my energy bills. I wish you could do that the same. You know, that would be a nice little thing to have, you know, take it out of the taxpayer. Oh, wait, don't we pay into this? Yeah, that's exactly what this is. How insulting is it to know that this Labour government, who by no stretch of imagination, and you have to understand this, guys, okay? If anyone tells you or tries to argue that this was necessary, they have no idea what they're talking about. There is no benefit whatsoever to this decision by the Labour government. If they tell you it's because of this fake, of this nonsense £22 billion black hole, it does nothing to the so-called hole. Okay? Nothing whatsoever. The system we had before was perfectly fine. Yeah? There is no reason to change this. There is no benefit to change this. It is a political choice to take winter fuel payments away, to make life difficult for pensioners. And yes, some people will argue, yes, well, some people can now claim pension credit. Well, that's all well and good, but for some of them don't know that. Some of them aren't aware that they have to do that. Some people are living alone, cold in their damp home or whatever, and they don't realise that their energy bills are going to get, and they don't know. It's easy for people to say, oh, well, they can just claim pension credit. Well, not everyone is entitled to the pension credit. And it's outrageous that while this is all happening, MPs are claiming their energy bills at taxpayers' expenses. Now, I will point out, as Will will do in this article, in this exclusive from there are some MPs who are choosing not to. Now, I don't know. There are some Labour MPs who are choosing not to. I'm assuming. I don't know who. I don't have names. But for those who are, well done for them for saying, you know what, it would be morally wrong for me to take that, considering that we're cutting pensioners. On a moral standpoint, still doesn't mean your party's right in any way, shape, or form of doing what you're doing. Now, let's not also rule out the fact that the Conservatives will also be collecting their fair share of it as well. Now, will the Lib Dems, the Greens, and Reform be doing the same? Doesn't state in the article. We'll have a double check just to be sure, but I'm pretty sure. Would not surprise me if Lib Dems did some. I can't speak for the Greens and Reform if they would. It just depends. You know, MP salaries vary, don't they? So, but obviously, as cabinet ministers, as shadow cabinet ministers, it's a difference there. But does spits right in the face, doesn't it? Of everything that is happening right now. So, MPs charge taxpayers £300,000 for their energy bills at second homes in a year. That's second homes. 36 current Labour ministers, including the Chancellor Rachel Reeves, have claimed for their gas and electricity costs out on expenses, according to an analyst. The claims are entirely within the rules for expenses, and Labour defended the MPs, saying that such expenses help them meet their costs of working from 2 permanent locations. Yep. So while pensioners freeze to death, you know, they need you to cough up and pay out of taxpayer money to pay for their expenses as well. So while they're taking in a nice hefty salary, they're cutting off the winter for pensioners. One Tory MP said he would no longer claim for energy bills this winter due to the struggles his constituencies face following the cut to the winter fuel payments. A Labour Party source said MPs need appropriate financial support to prevent only wealthy politicians running for Parliament. However, the government will face uncomfortable scrutiny over the figures following the controversial cut to winter fuel payments for pensioners. One new Labour MP said they were weighing up on whether they would, including on their parliamentary expenses, admit fear of backlash from constituents. A fuel poverty campaigner said the expenses claims do not pass the smell test and show that politicians were shielded from the struggle faced by many voters. The energy price cap will increase in January, with the average household paying £1,738 a year. Pensioners groups who claim it will particularly galling that 13 cabinet members who agreed to cut winter fuel payments, which help older people pay their heating bills, have received support from their own energy bills. The bill for 271 MPs' energy costs at second homes rose to £293,000 in 2023-2024. According to analysis of Independent Parliamentary Standard Authority, the IPSA data, the average claim was for 1,080. It marks a sharp increase on the previous year's sum, which came to 241,000 in total. Taxpayers have spent £1.2 million on MPs' gas and electricity bills since 2019. That's us. We've spent. The total includes claims made in 2024 and 2025. Total for the current year remains incomplete, but so far MPs have claimed £107,000. The majority of claims made this year were logged during the spring and summer before MPs voted in favour of cutting winter fuel payments in September. However, the IPSA data available was not updated in real time. MPs with seats outside of London were allowed to put fuel bills and other utilities at one rented home on expenses, whether the accommodation is in London or in their constituency. While the rules are designed to help them work in 2 places, critics say the support has at least partially insulated MPs from the pain of the cost of living crisis in recent years. There are 13 people in Sir Keir Starmer's cabinet who claimed energy bills for 2023-2024, charging the taxpayer almost £15,000. In total, 36 current Labour ministers have charged over $33,000 for their fuel costs for 2023-2024. The Education Secretary, Bridget Phillipson, has claimed the most of any Labour minister since 2019, with her taxpayer-funded gas and electricity amounting to £8,175 since the start of the last Parliament, including £931 for 2024-2025. Work and Pensions Secretary Liz Kendall charged the taxpayer the most of any minister in 2023-2024 when her annual bill at her rented home hit £3,104. She has claimed £5,660 since 2019. Rachel Reeves, who announced in the summer that the winter fuel payments in England and Wales would be scrapped to reduce public spending, has claimed £3,778 in total for her energy bill since 2019. The Deputy Prime Minister, Angela Rayner, has charged £4,739 for fuel bills in the same period. Other senior cabinet figures charged for their energy costs, including the Energy Secretary, Ed Miliband. Oh, yeah, that's right, Mr. Green Man himself, yeah. £4,506 since 2019. The Scotland Secretary, Ian Murray, £6,047 since 2019. And Justice Secretary, Shabina Mahmood, £2,011 since 2019. But a newly elected Labour MP said it did not seem wise to claim at a time where there is such a strong feeling about winter fuel payments. At present, they are able to stay with a family member in London, so they do not need to expense energy bills, they added. In the future, they might have to expense accommodation energy bills, but make a decision then whether it is necessary. Liz Truss, who was no longer an MP, Suella Braverman and James Cleverly are among senior Tories who have claimed for gas and electricity costs at their rented homes in recent years. 7 members of the Conservative current shadow cabinet, including Tory leader Kemi Badenoch, are claiming energy bills on expenses. The amounts claimed by the shadow cabinet over the past year amounts to just over £8,500. Reganelite has claimed 5,865 for our own fuel bills since 2019, including 2024-2025, while the Shadow Chancellor Mel Stride has charged 9,034 during the same period. However, the Conservative Shadow Culture Secretary Stuart Andrew, who has claimed 4,398 for energy bills since 2019, and he has decided not to claim for any gas and electricity costs this winter. A spokesperson for the Tory MP said that these expenses are available to all MPs working in two locations. But in appreciation for the struggle being faced by his constituents this winter due to decisions that have been made by the government, Andrew will not claim for utility bills this winter. One ex-Tory MP who owned their second property in London said he felt it would have been ridiculous to charge the bills to the taxpayer. I bought that property before I was an MP when I worked in London. I could afford it if I was elected. Therefore, I could afford it after I was elected. It would have been ridiculous for me to have charged it to the taxpayer when I had the funds. But he said MPs should not be penalised for claiming their rents and expenses, as not everyone is in a financial position to afford two homes. He added, if you can afford it, I see nothing wrong with the taxpayer supporting MPs in doing their jobs to making sure that they are housed. But on principle, if an MP can afford to cover their own expenses, they should. The iPaper approached MPs for comments, but many declined to respond. Dennis Reeves, director of Silver Voices Pensioners Campaign Group, said it was bad when Tory ministers were claiming for energy bills, but it's particularly galling, and sickening when it happens to a cabinet who have taken the decision to cut winter fuel payments. You'd think they'd have a bit more sensitivity about it. Cabinet members get a pretty decent salary. It may be within the rules to claim for energy bills, but to keep claiming the amounts doesn't pass the smell test. It stinks. Simon Francis, coordinator of End Fuel Poverty Coalition, has said senior politicians were shielded and insulated from the reality faced by some this winter, such as living in a cold home. It does seem perverse that ministers and MPs who voted to cut winter fuel payments don't have to struggle and get support. Their energy costs are at least partly subsidised by the taxpayer, many of whom are struggling to pay their bills, he said. The amounts charged by MPs for energy bills have risen steadily in recent years, with larger increases seen in the wake of Russia's invasion of Ukraine in 2022, which hiked energy prices. More than £196,000 was claimed by MPs for fuel bills in 2021-2022, climbing to £241,000 in 2022-2023 before rising again to £293,000 in the last financial year. Ruth London, spokesperson for campaign group Fuel Poverty Action, said the rising cost of subsidised energy bills for MPs adds insult to injury after the loss of universal winter fuel payments. Politicians seem quick to see a need when the matter of heating in their own homes, though all about our needs. Reeves is facing a call for a U-turn after announcing in July that winter fuel payments of up to £300 will no longer be universal, would only now be made available to those on pension credit and other benefits. Mr Reeves of Silver Voices said the Chancellor should at least consider universal payments of £100 for England and Wales, as the administrations Scotland and Northern Ireland have done. They could recover some ground if they made at least a part U-turn. Jan Schrodt, General Secretary of the National Pensions Convention, said Reeves' decision to scrap universal support shows a sad lack of moral and ethical standards within government. Accuses Labour ministers of being out of touch with everyday challenges older people face. Spokesperson for Labour says MPs of all parties are entitled to this, and they continue to pay their utility bills for their own homes like everyone else. Spokesperson said the Conservatives left behind a legacy of sky-high energy bills, adding that Labour are fixing the foundations of our economy, get the country better off, An IPSA spokesperson said the body only pays utility bills in very specific circumstances, adding, MPs do not receive funding for their utility bills in their private homes. We only pay utility costs for MPs' work accommodation and constituency offices. That's what they say. But it still smacks in the face of us people. It really does smack in the face of we, the people, when you hear about the amount of money that they claim off it. It's like, to me, the system should be a case of that there should not be this case of having to claim expenses for energy. It should be a case of if your wages cannot cover what you do, then change the wage structure. For me, it should not be this case of being able to claim stuff whatsoever. It should be you get a fixed salary, and obviously if it's not enough, then they will review it and whatnot and look at that. But salaries should be like they get paid a lot of money to do these things, to make difficult decisions on behalf of the UK. And yes, they should be getting when you are Chancellor, Prime Minister, whatever, they should be getting a decent pay. You know, they're in charge. They're politicians, for crying out loud. They make big decisions. For me, if it was just coming out of their salary, this would be a very different story. You know, people would not be seeing it. They would, if it was coming out of their salaries, you wouldn't think of anything of it. The problem is that it's coming directly out of taxpayer money. This is the problem. This is the crux of the problem, and this is where perhaps maybe they need to look at the salary structure of MPs or politicians, because because rather it should not be coming anywhere near taxpayers, and it should be coming from that. Now, some people will say, well, that means, Regan, you're saying that MPs and politicians are not getting paid enough. That's exactly what I'm saying. If they need to increase their wages in order for them to stop claiming expenses for things like energy bills and whatnot, I would rather do that. I would actually rather do that rather than it coming directly out of taxpayer money, because then you have this situation where our money is going towards keeping their offices, their second homes heated. Yes, they have a job. We understand that. I understand that, and I know you guys understand that politicians have a job to do, and I respect that. I really do. But it should not come. But it should not come out at the expense of this expenses. It should be all tied into their wages. And if it's the case, that they're not, if they can't afford it, then they need to restructure what they're doing. I think it should, you know, their wages. I'm sure their wages are already based on where they are constituency wise, by how far they are from Westminster and whatnot. There needs to be some serious reconstruction. I mean, we've talked about, you know, the needs that the system needs reforming anyway. But it just spits in the face, considering that this government, this cabinet in particular, made the conscious decision to cut winter fuel payments at a time when we are already in a cost of living crisis, where people are still struggling. People are still struggling to get by. Yes, I know people have said we've got to give Labour time and all this kind of stuff. But this was one decision that Labour did not have to make. And it was a political choice that they made. And it was wrong for them to have done that. And we should remember that and hold them to that when it comes to the next local and general elections. But what do you guys think? What do you guys make about MPs claiming £300,000 for their energy bills amid the winter fuel payment cut? Do you think it's right that MPs can claim for their energy bills? Do you agree with me that perhaps if their wages cannot afford it, should their wages be increased to be able to afford it, as opposed to coming directly out of taxpayer money? I want your thoughts and more on all of this down in the comments section below. Now, if you found this video informative, please hit the like button. We greatly appreciate it. Share this across social media so others are notified of this video. If you haven't subscribed already, please consider subscribing, because it really does help support the channel. If you want to go one step further, financially support me and the work that I do here, you can do so by becoming a YouTube member for as little as 99p, or you can join me on Rumble or Patreon for exclusive content on those platforms. So thank you all so much for watching, and I hope to catch you all very, very soon.